call on Congress today to act immediately to appropriate whatever is necessary to put armed police officers in every single school in this nation, and to do it now.
That was National Rifle Association CEO Wayne LaPierre, who in a statement yesterday said that the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Joining me now is retired Admiral Joe Sestak, former Democratic U.S. Congressman who served on the Education and Labor Committee as well as the Armed Services Committee. Welcome. Nice to see you as always.
Good to see you, Alice.
Your reaction to Wayne LaPierre's announcement, what was it?
Well, I come from Pennsylvania, and I have great respect for hunters, and I have great respect for an individual who wants to have a gun to protect their home. But I have a beautiful 11-year-old daughter, and I want her to grow up in America where she appreciates the freedom of religion, freedom of press, and the freedom to own a gun. But I don't want her to grow up in America where she would feel that the only way she can be safe in her school is to be able to have an armed guard there, or an armed guard on a bus that might take them down to Independence Hall for a school trip. I believe that after my 31 years in the military, being associated with weapons did large-scale killings. That, as Justice Alito said in that Heller Supreme Court decisions, you have the right to a gun, but there are limits to that right. That those types of military weapons that we had should not be in the hands of our citizens to hunt deer or for a criminal. And the last time we had an assault weapons ban, Alex, in 1994, within 2 years, the percentage of murders of our police officers by assault weapons dropped from 16% of all murders to 0. It does have a practical impact. It's not the only answer.
No.
Mental health is part of the problem and other issues. But it's not right to say that we need an armed guard at every single school in America.
Yeah,
not the type of society we want.
You're saying it is some sort of a combination of gun control and mental health initiatives on behalf of the government. But a lot of the silence on assault weapons up until now has been blamed on the NRA's political power. I mean, it's been estimated that in your own race against Pat Toomey in 2010, the NRA and its affiliates, they spent like $1.5 million to oust you. But how powerful are they really? I mean, I've also heard, former Governor Ed Rendell say that they're a paper tiger, and he's from your state. I mean, are they really that powerful? Does the Sandy Hook shooting do anything to change that?
Well, no, they are not that powerful. Look, we came within 2 percentage points in that race. It had nothing to do with the NRA. I mean, it had a lot to do with other issues. The NRA opposed me in every single race that I was in, and I won every single one, primary or general, until that very last. My take on this is that Americans very much want their liberties to be respected. But we are Americans that come together in a community, and if we have more senators, like Senator Casey just recently changed the position, and that's the tragedy about Connecticut, is it took that tragedy to have some of these senators to do what's actually right. The NRA is not a complete paper tagger. It's just a special interest group. And I believe that Americans want to do what's right for the community. Look, there are other issues that Americans want to have, whether it's a child lock or whether it's to have a gun show out there that cannot sell as many guns as anybody wants without a background check. I believe that if public officials will do what's right, that this will be part of the problems and resolution. You can overcome the lobbying of the NRA and still keep your job as a public official, which should be second in consideration.
Yeah. Let's switch gears now. I want to ask you about the Benghazi hearing and the report there. What did we learn from the hearing Thursday, and does it settle the debate?
No, I don't think it's going to completely settle debate, but in the military I learned to expect what you inspect. And this Accountability Review Board, the third time we've done it in the last few decades after our embassies or consulates have been overrun, is another step towards an improvement. It is said that the State Department mismanaged it, and accountability was done for those individuals where the rubber met the road at the Assistant Secretary and below. I think accountability is tough, but it's needed. Second, it also pointed out that Congress has a role in this, that in the last 2 years they cut the installation of funding for our embassies, our consulates overseas, by 10%. I hope that the next steps are stop the finger pointing. If we are going to put our diplomats in pretty bad neighborhoods like Benghazi, we owe them the kinds of resources that will protect them. State Department has to do better management, and darn it, Congress has to fund that appropriately, just like it does the military.
You said accountability is tough, but it's needed. And we had the Assistant Secretary of State for Diplomatic Security resign. There were 3 other officials that have been relieved of their duties. Is that an adequate response?
Well, I think you're going to see Secretary Clinton, who unfortunately has had a concussion, and such a superb public official, testify here in January. She wants to, but she also was the one who stood up front and center early on and said, what happens in the State Department with regard to Benghazi, I am responsible for. And I think that that is the fine type of leadership. But yes, I think in this area of the proper defense of our consulates overseas, accountability was done. There are other areas, I think, Alex, that not for political purposes, but for just making sure we get the right lessons learned that has to be completed in terms of investigation. We need the FBI to finish the criminal investigation to find out the perpetrators, the terrorists, who actually did this, so that, quite frankly, we can get them. Second, I think that in what the talking points episode was all about, how come the interagency, was it for good reasons or bad reasons, changed those talking points over time, is completed. Because we do need, as Senator Feinstein once said, to understand that process so that it's done better in the future. I'm a big believer of lessons learned and then applying them, which didn't happen, quite frankly, in the State Department this time, because it was not meeting the restrictions and the requirements of the last Accountability Review Board that was completed in 1999.
Yeah.
We didn't have that consulate meeting those standards, and we learned that lesson again.
Boy, a painful one indeed. Admiral Sestak, good to see you as always. Many thanks.
Great. Happy holidays.
And to you. In this morning's